Well, folks, it looks like it's that time of year again, and I'm not talking about holidays or tax season. As Pacific Gas and Electric plans to cut power during fire season in October, police departments are bracing for election riots, and Spain declares a new state of emergency over coronavirus, it's time to talk prepping. I know this is not everyone's favorite topic right now, and this video is not designed to freak you out. The purpose of this video is to let you know the current situation as it stands and what you should probably do about it. As of Sunday, October 25th, Spain has just declared a new state of emergency that will extend all the way until May, as in 6 months from now.
Oh my God!
They're instating a new nighttime curfew, limits on gatherings, and travel bans. In early spring, Spain instituted one of the strictest lockdowns, which then became somewhat of a model for the rest of Europe. Italy isn't far behind and also just announced new restrictions, again, the strictest since early spring. Gyms, pools, and movie theaters are to be shut down completely, and restaurants will be required to close by 6 p.m. France has just hit their record of over 52,000 cases in one day, and, as it turns out, just instituted another lockdown that has people fleeing the cities. And Angela Merkel is claiming that COVID is spreading faster in Germany than it did in March. And now the news is talking about hitting similar records in the US, despite the fact that by the CDC's own numbers, COVID-19 is far less deadly than originally thought. If Europe is locking down, many states in the US probably aren't far behind. Just last week, Boston announced they were closing down Boston schools. MSN released an alarmist article on a Massachusetts Water Resources Authority report about COVID in the sewage, and the government is slowly declaring the entire eastern part of the state a high-risk community. Gavin Newsom in California basically banned Thanksgiving and Christmas, and a new map from the New York Times shows that New York, California, Illinois, Colorado, Texas, and New Mexico are all starting to roll back their reopenings, and Oregon, Arkansas, Alabama, Rhode Island, and North Carolina have all hit the pause button. In the US, the curve is still just about flatlined as compared to the spring, and yet outlets like The Atlantic are demanding a new wave of shutdowns, claiming that the second wave is because we didn't lock ourselves in our houses hard enough the first time, rather than because COVID is a virus and won't just disappear if we pretend it can't see us. The op-ed even claims that if businesses stayed shut down, more of them would still be around to reopen later. It was because they tried to open with a smaller capacity that they went bankrupt, according to the doctor-author who apparently knows nothing about economics or running a business. Foreign Affairs, too, is calling for a second round of shutdowns, this time until a vaccine is widely available, which could be forever, seeing as we still haven't eradicated the flu. Blue checks all over Twitter aren't far behind. And in late July, the U.S. Public Interest Research Group also began a new campaign for a new set of lockdowns. They're the ones that came up with that 200,000 number that Biden keeps touting, which, mind you, is still astronomically less than the 2 million deaths Americans were originally quoted. Numbers are rising because more people are getting tested, and despite that, deaths are still falling, which is pretty good news if you ask me. Even so, with the surge and accompanying lockdowns already beginning in Europe, it's time to start preparing for a second wave of shutdowns, especially if Biden wins. God help us all. If Trump wins, then it could very likely be a matter of contending with widespread civil unrest and riots instead, as many groups in blue states have already pledged to burn their cities down if Trump gets reelected.
Yay!
Several people have already contacted me about getting their bug-out bags ready in case of riots after the election. And even if the bulk of US states don't shut down, the shutdowns in Europe and any peppered throughout the US could still put some major kinks in the supply chains. And with winter and flu season on the way, it's entirely possible that things could get really ugly. And I don't mean ugly Christmas sweater ugly. So ugly, in fact, that France's grocery store shelves are now empty ahead of the lockdown, and I just heard from someone in Germany who told me that their lockdown starts on Monday and toilet paper is already mostly gone from the shelves. Either way, it doesn't hurt to have peace of mind. I did all my second round of pre-lockdown and pre-civil unrest shopping Sunday and Monday, and last time, at least in terms of COVID, I was about 3 weeks ahead of the curve. As stupid as it is, make sure that you have a pack or two of toilet paper handy in case everyone goes nuts over it again and somehow doesn't have any left from last time. Around here, stores are still having supply issues with paper goods. If you have a grill or heat your house with propane, getting an extra tank or two might also be a good idea, as it is predicted there will be a propane shortage as restaurants in colder areas try to maintain their outdoor dining with those outdoor heaters. Stock up on canned goods and pantry staples like rice and flour. If you're feeling a little bit fancy, now is also a good time to replenish your emergency food kits. If you were on this channel for the first wave, you know that My Patriot Supply offers special discounts for my viewers and listeners, and those deals can be accessed through my special website, preparewithliberty.com. Their 2-week kits are back in stock, and right now, the 4-week kit is $100 off, which is a pretty incredible deal, and the link will be down in the description. They also have water filtration kits that I honestly use on a daily basis, and it definitely beats having to stock up on bottled water, which oddly enough is also still in very low stock around here. Those can be found at waterwithliberty.com. If last time was any indication, you also want to stock up on any cleaning supplies, gloves, and things like hand soap. I personally just bought a couple gallons from Sam's Club myself, because even if people don't go nuts the second time around, it's not like it's a product that I'll never use. I did the same for calorie-dense things that are easy to pack and carry, like Lara bars, and for frozen veggies. Also, I bought a bunch of meat in bulk to pop in the freezer. Pro tip, always use a double layer. Back in Massachusetts, meat was being rationed the first time around, and frozen veggies were near impossible to find. And also, the produce was disgusting. I'm not as worried about it here in the South, but I have been told by the locals that even the shops here were putting purchase limits on certain items at the grocery stores. As for sporting supplies, Warfighter Tactical seems like it hasn't been as hard hit as some other companies and is offering supporters a 7% discount with the code LibertyDoll. Otherwise, honestly, what you've got might be what you've got, and that's it. I know that at big box stores, pretty much everything is out of stock and on back order. There are still a record number of NICS checks going through the system every month, and that does not seem to be changing. Medical supplies are also always a good idea. You can find medical kits online from all kinds of different retailers, even on Amazon, though I personally use MyMedic because you can pick kits that are more tailored to individual needs. Bottom line, I'd say to try and make sure you have enough food and supplies to last you and your family at least a month at bare minimum. And that's being kind of generous. You probably would want to have at least 3 because, let's face it, it's winter time and cold and flu season is coming, and they're not going to be able to differentiate between flu and COVID. Shit's gonna get crazy. But this isn't about surviving the virus, it's about surviving the panic that could very well come with it, especially if you live near a city. Police departments across the country are telling their officers to prepare for the worst in regards to pre- and post-election fallout, and if any of that comes to bear, you don't want to have to be traveling into highly congested areas to get your bread and milk. And it's not just about the cops. According to The Independent, 72% of Americans are expecting violence after Election Day, and just today, BuzzFeed is talking about civil war. Video on that later. But that means that you don't just have to worry about the violence itself, but the way people might act under that anxiety. Economically speaking, no states are faring quite as badly as the blue states, despite Biden standing on the debate stage and telling you otherwise. Until September, Massachusetts had the highest unemployment rate in the country. Now it sits behind Rhode Island and a couple states that rely on tourism for the summer. Still, through August, almost 1 million Massachusetts residents were on unemployment. Even CNN was able to admit that Washington, Oregon, California, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania were among the hardest hit for unemployment, with New York and Connecticut also hitting record high numbers. According to Fox 5 New York, 1 million New Yorkers can't afford food right now, and the number is expected to keep climbing. New Jersey is reporting similar numbers. Feeding America, a nationwide network of over 200 food banks, is already reporting that they're facing an 8 billion meal shortage due to COVID. In fact, food insecurity has gone up an average of 50% across all of the big blue states of the Northeast. To add insult to injury, big cities are becoming ghost towns and seeing surges in violent crime. Seriously, the streets of Boston right now are practically dead. Everyone is either locked in their house or making a mass exodus, and what's left is not good. So altogether, the point of the video is this. Things are already tough in a lot of places. Post-election violence, COVID, and flu season could all make things a lot tougher. The best thing that you can do is prepare, buckle down, and hold on for dear life. That's it for today's video. All of the products and websites I mentioned, plus a few more that I think will be handy, are down in the description. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're new here, and drop a comment down below, especially if you have any other suggestions for people. If you like my work and want to help support it in other ways, you can find me on Patreon or Subscribestar, check out my merch store, or give a one-time donation through PayPal or crypto. As always, thanks for tuning in, stay safe, and thank you for helping me to spread the message of liberty.